and welcome back to Football Made Simple. Chelsea have experienced an upturn in form since Thomas Tuchel came in to replace Frank Lampard. Where Lampard experienced just 3 wins in addition to 3 losses in his last 7 matches, Tuchel's first 7 so far contain 5 wins and no losses as of yet. Interestingly, in league play alone, they have conceded far fewer goals per game compared to the Lampard era, 0.3 per game compared to 1.27. But their scoring rate has also dropped off, from 1.83 to 1.33, although the differential is still in Tuchel's favour. But what tactics has Tuchel actually implemented on the pitch? Let's take a look. Let's firstly examine his preferred formations. Tuchel has brought in some consistency with slight tweaks as well. He has lined up in a back 3 in every match so far, alternating between the 3-4-3 and a 3-4-1-2. He has had several players who he clearly prefers to start, and it is mainly the wide attackers where there has been more rotation, with Havertz, Ziyech and Hudson-Odoi all having spells there. Right wing back has also frequently seen Reece James and Hudson-Odoi rotating. Let's start with the first phase. In the first phase, the build-up mechanisms are quite similar across the 2 formations. Tuchel has taken an even more possession-heavy approach, never dipping below 58% possession according to FBref. And this starts from the keeper, whether Mendy or Kepa, who have plenty of options deep to begin with the centre-back splitting fairly wide, which allows both wing-backs to push higher up the pitch. This shape makes it harder for opponents due to Chelsea having 6 men deep, if you include Mendy, and a man-to-man press would leave them vulnerable deeper. As a result, Chelsea often come through the first phase relatively unchallenged. And higher up in the build-up, Chelsea often maintain a 3-2 shape, which gives them many options. If opponents do not commit numbers to the press, the roles of Azpilicueta and Rudiger are emphasized, as they both have the onus to carry the ball into the midfield third to bypass the first line of pressure and open up more passing angles. And if opponents do look to press with a front 3, when using a 3-4-3 in particular, Chelsea can use the wide regions to play out. This can be through the wing-back dropping deeper whilst the inside forward moves wide to occupy the opposition's full-back. Alternatively, the inside forward can just drop into the wider region instead. And the double pivot of Jorginho and Kovacic has been crucial to the system. Both men are supremely comfortable on the ball, providing options to receive the ball between the lines and often able to combine in tight spaces to bypass their markers. Jorginho tends to be the deeper of the two, acting much more as a metronome, looking to rotate the ball around the pitch. But under Tuchel, Kovacic has been given more responsibility and freedom in progressing the ball. Many teams often look to go man-to-man against the Chelsea double pivot, and Kovacic has fully taken advantage of this, using his dribbling ability to get past a man so that Chelsea now have the man advantage higher up. But when Mount is playing in a reserved role in particular, he can also drop deeper to give them numerical advantages in the midfield, making it a 3 versus 2. And he has been highly effective in doing this, receiving the ball, looking to play in the runners and forwards ahead of him. But we also see Chelsea use the side overloads to create space, due to the pivots being tracked so closely. This often involves both men moving wide and frequently to the left, and once the opposition's midfield is dragged across, Mount drops into the space created in the midfield to receive the ball. Aided by the right winger ahead of him and occasionally Azpilicueta bombing forward, he can drive forwards with plenty of options to either side. We have in certain phases also seen the inside forwards drop deeper, almost into midfield, so that the shape looks like a box, which often forces the opposition midfield to decide between pushing high to pressure the pivots, which would allow men between the lines, or dropping deeper, giving Jorginho and Kovacic more space in which to exert their influence on the game. And higher up the pitch, Chelsea have been using wide combinations between the forwards and the wing-backs well. Down the left, Alonso has thrived in a wing-back position, where he is one of the best in the world. This has been facilitated by Werner, who, as opposed to always trying to get in behind on the defender's last shoulder, from this tucked-in position has often stayed slightly deeper to get on the ball. This in turn drags in the fullback infield, so Werner can receive and look to find him. But more commonly, it frees the ball over the top to Alonso, who can look to receive the switch, and then go for the cross. But notably, when Werner has received the ball in these deeper areas, he tends to drive down the line to get a cross in, rather than potentially cutting infield to look for the shot, which may be an indicator of decreased confidence. This may partly explain why he still doesn't get many shots off on goal, and still hasn't found his best form in front of goal. But down the right is where Chelsea have particularly looked bright. This again has been because their attacking structure means they usually have a 5 versus 4 advantage, leaving the opposition fullbacks vulnerable. If the fullback moves wide to cover Chelsea's wingback, we have often seen Mount receive the ball in this right half space, and once the fullback does look to close him down, he then finds the wingback in a great position to get the cross in. And in the 1-2 shape, there is greater onus on Azpilicueta to push higher up at times in order to provide the width. The inside forward and Mount still have great movement, with one often dropping deep and creating space in the backline for Mount to potentially attack, to look to get a shot off, or to put in a cross. Now, let's touch on the defensive end of things. We have at times seen Chelsea look to press high, triggered by the front line. If opponents build with the two, Abraham and Werner can pick up the centre-backs, with Mount remaining deeper to cut off a central option. This will then force the opponents wide, and Chelsea's wing-backs can push high up to apply the pressure quickly. This is facilitated by the back three, as they can quickly shift to a 4 to ensure that the opposition's wide man is not free in acres of space. Similarly, when opponents build with the 3, Mount can then push up into the first line of pressure to maintain the man-to-man press, with Jorginho and Kovacic pushing higher up in these phases. And of course, at times, this press can be broken, especially through the midfield as they only have a double pivot. This is then usually the trigger for them to drop into a more settled shape, a 5-4-1 with inside forwards moving wider to prevent the wide overload. They then slow down the opponent well, making it harder to create great opportunities, and with 3 centre-backs they can defend the box well. It is still early days in the Thomas Tuchel era, and his biggest challenges still lie ahead of him. However, this has been a bright start for him at the Bridge, and Chelsea fans will be hoping that this form continues long into the future. But what have you made of Tuchel's Chelsea? Drop it down in the comments below. A quick shout out to my Patreons for helping to make this video possible. If you want to support, head on over to patreon.com/footballmadesimple and you'll get rewards like early access to videos and exclusive content. And a special thanks to Christian Linde and Mohammed Habib for supporting FMS on Patreon. But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.